Hello, everybody. It's Renee Cormier from the Fractional Referral Network. Today's subject is about integrating cybersecurity into fractional consulting, protecting clients' data, protecting your clients and their data. Today's guest speaker is Amin Sait. Amin is a fractional uh, chief sales officer or fractional sales executive who specializes in working with um, uh, cybersecurity companies and web companies, you said, or
Cloud and
cloud
cloud.
cloud companies. Sorry, I am a. Anything else you'd like to add, Amy?
Yeah, I've been doing this now for about 20 years, but not only in Canada. Prior to this, it was in the UK and then Saudi Arabia and Bahrain. So all in cybersecurity and cloud company kind of environment. So have got a pretty good handle on working on internationally as well as in North America around this space.
Excellent, excellent. So, um, how can non-technical fractionals like CMOs and CFOs play a role in enhancing a client's cybersecurity posture?
Well, when we talk about CMOs and CFOs, they've got different roles as far as even at a fractional level. But what I will point out is maybe four or five things that they can look at to be able to try and improve what they're currently doing for from a posture perspective. So the first thing is the from a CFO perspective and a CMO is the strategic oversight. So what is the goal that the company is trying to reach? What is it that they're actually trying to achieve at this point in time? So the mission, the vision, what are they trying to achieve? So getting that strategic oversight is very important. From a CFO perspective, more than a CMO, it would also be things around financial management. The thing is, to be able to do any kind of objectives around sales and everything else, you got to expend money to be able to get something back. But you have to make each dollar as valuable as possible. So that's what the fractional CFO will try and figure out. What should be the budget? So for example, if the company wants to launch I don't know, in the United States or in Mexico or in the Middle East. So what would be the budget around something like this? What would be the exercise of the budget, and what would be the ROIs that are expected around that? A lot of companies, especially in marketing, when they do the marketing, and I'm not talking about the fractional side, in full-time companies, companies do marketing activities, but then the ROI against that is not measured properly. So you're not able to measure as to what's the returns from that. So there's got to be a structure around this. So both the CFO and the CMO will play an important part in that. The next thing which applies mainly for CMOs is the communication culture, right? They got to be able to make sure that the folks within the company have the awareness, the training to be able to do that, and also to be able to, if you want to think of it from a cybersecurity thing aspect, is to be able to spread the word that they need to have a cybersecurity culture. People tend to forget, as they launch new products and they start launching new applications, that cybersecurity needs to be the core of it. And we're seeing it a lot right now, where AI is now playing such a big part in what companies are doing. But what companies tend to forget, right? And this is the job where the fractional CFO and CMO will come in a lot, um, is to be able to remind a company that the bad guys are using the AI even more effectively than the good guys, right? And this is a lesson that they need to understand, that when they launch something, they launch a product which is web-based or outward bound, they need to have the right level of protection around that so that they don't get hacked. And again, where the CMO and CFO will come in together is that, for example, if the company is selecting certain kinds of vendors, what are the types of vendors that you're looking for? And again, we'll talk about this a little bit more during the presentation. Is one of the underbelly, and Dana will know more about what I'm talking because she's done cybersecurity. For most companies, the weak underbelly is the third-party vendors that they're getting, because they tend to protect themselves, but they need to ensure that the third-party vendors that they're working with also have that level of protection, because hackers don't come into a company directly if they've got the right level of protection. They'll go through a third-party vendor and come straight into your systems because you got them as a trusted vendor, right? And then
What kind of vendor? Like a
so for example, let's assume that you got and I give a simple example, a manufacturing company, right? And there's a factory. So they will have vendors that will do, say, HVAC work, or they will have somebody providing the accounting systems, or somebody providing the stationery to the company, or things like that. Those are vendors that are associated with the company. And they, like, for example, the HVAC vendor, for example, if he's completed the work, will upload his invoice into the accounting system, which is of the main company. But if a hacker gets into the HVAC people's system, he will send a fake invoice, right, with a little attachment to it, so that when that invoice gets opened in the company and it's a trusted invoice from one of the sub vendors, they're going to get into your systems because they've come in through the back door. So again, you have to be very careful around that, right? And then from a CO4 perspective, again, it is very important, the that if, for example, you have a company in either healthcare or in banking or anything to do with financial institutions, there is regulatory alignment. There is audit and reportings that need to be done, which have to be done. Otherwise, the company is going to get penalized. So there's a lot of things that the CFO and the CMO can do together to be able to help out a company.
so what signs should fractionals look for in their clients' operation systems that indicate that there's some vulnerability? What would those signs be?
Well, it all depends upon what they're trying to do. So if for example, they're looking for any vulnerabilities, what they have to look is, are they doing the right level of security awareness as part of the training? Do they have, so if you think of most installations, you're going to have your endpoints. Your endpoints is your boundary of your solutions. Then you have your networks, you have your data, you have your identity and access management systems, and something to be able to control all of that. So what they need to be able to do is basically ask the questions around those basic systems, like what do you have for your endpoints? Do you have security awareness training, which is the pre part of it, so that your people can understand when there's phishing attacks or things like that. They also have to be able to figure out what, if there's something being used to protect the networks, like Jason was saying, something to patch any kind of vulnerabilities that come up. So where that becomes very important is that, uh, you know one thing about applications that companies use, whether it's internal or whether they're using external, they are never static, right? There's always additions to them, there's changes to them, there's things that happen across all of this. So what they have to be able to do is, ensure that if, for example, a new application comes in, um, when integrated into the systems, it will cause issues around other systems. So there's certain amount of patches that need to be done from a security perspective, that is all done. So have they got these basic systems in place? It's, a good example of this, for a CFO or a CMO to also look at, is that if the company is applying for any kind of cyber insurance, right? When you apply for cyber insurance, I mean, a few years ago, if cyber insurance, you could get like $10 million like that. Now, even $5 million is difficult to get. It's very expensive. And if you take places like France, they've cut out cyber insurance altogether. They will not give you cyber insurance. But in the States and in Canada, if you go for cyber insurance, they will give you a set of questions, which you need to understand what that is. So, for example, if they can get their hands on any of those lists from a cyber insurance company, it'll give them an idea as to what are the questions that a company needs to answer. Now, in a lot of cases, they don't have to answer every one of them, but the basics. What have you got around your endpoint? What have you got around your network? What have you got around your data? How do you protect your people? Those are the four major things that they need to look at and kind of protect against.
Okay. So So what can fractionals do to help their clients protect their customer data and that sort of thing? Is there something that, like a simple thing that they can do to make a big difference in that?
So if they want to be able to protect their client data, they have to start thinking about what again, it goes back to a simple methodology that was used many years ago, but unfortunately has fallen to the wayside now with all the apps and everything else. So a few years ago, companies used to maintain what we tend to call as a risk register. And what this is it's a document. It's a living, breathing document that most companies used to have, and a lot of companies still do have, right? Which takes every asset of the company, whether it is digital, whether it is physical, and puts a risk against it, right? Now, here is the sad fact of today, Renee. Companies are going to get attacked, right? It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when, right? So what they need to be able to do is figure out from the risk register which are the assets that cannot be breached, that if those assets are breached, then the company will go bankrupt or the company will stop functioning. So, again, with that risk register, when you assign a value against each of those items, you can then figure out which ones are the ones that need the protection and cannot be broken into. So, like for example, the IP of a company, all right, or the process or their bank accounts or or information around their finances. They would not; those are things that cannot be breached. So those would have, as their digital assets, they would be very high on the risk register. So you'd assign your greatest amount of security, the greatest amount of compliance and policies around that, right? But for example, let's just assume that a company is, again, giving an example of a manufacturing company. They're delivering some kind of goods to clients. They're out there delivering. If their list of deliveries of their goods is broken into by a hacker, yes, it's still a bad thing, but does it really break down a company's complete infrastructure and break them down from working? It does not. So those are assets that have got less priority, right? Is to be able to, and then those will be assigned lighter levels of compliance and security. So the one thing that I would advise CFOs and CMOs to do, that when they're going into a company, is first of all ask the companies, may we have a look at your risk register? And if you don't have one, why do you not have one? Right? Because that is the basics. This has got nothing to do with cybersecurity, frankly. Whether you talk about cybersecurity, compliance, whatever, where is your list of assets? Understand that, and from that, build up a portfolio of what needs to be protected at the highest level, and then work downwards from that.
Okay. So Dana and Jason, do you guys have any questions that you'd like to ask Amin? Please say yes.
Happy to answer any questions.
Nothing off the top of your head? Okay, roll things around in your mind. Do you have something, Dana? No?
Not a question yet, more so just, a comment, appreciating the information shared. I feel like some of my life choices are being validated. So
Okay, good.
That's
good.
The moment, Dana, you said that you did a cybersecurity course, you obviously realized I became a fan, right?
Yes, because I know a lot of people are like, you design logos and you like coming up with brand strategy. So when they're like, I love cybersecurity, I build websites and I'm tired of them getting hacked, just because people are doing careless things and like phishing scams. So we've dealt with people, and just when you work with a lot of small business owners in particular, they still feel like, oh, well, we're a small company. We don't have to worry. We don't have money. We're not Target. We're not Visa or whoever. But that does not matter. It just depends on the goal. They will hack your sites and your servers just for practice. or it could just be so that they can have access to more people to, get their information. So it's not necessarily about you. You could be a bridge to get
Exactly.
to your clients. And I know I should stop talking about them, but I mean, like T-Mobile can get hacked in 7 times in like 5 years and still be in business because they have those insurances, as well as just a large enough pool of consumers, some of them unaware of what has happened. But a small business, if you get hacked and your customers' information is breached, their security is compromised, and their trust in your organization goes down, like, will you still be around?
Yeah.
So even just those little basic protections from setting up the right DNS
Exactly.
protocols, understanding phishing emails, because yes, everyone's sending out PayPal scams and things like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so taking it seriously. So that's where my goal is. It's not so much to do a lot. I understand the technical work from the certification that I took in, coding, but it's bringing more of that awareness. So I really appreciate that this conversation is taking place. And I guess so, because I've always
Well, I
felt like
think
it was uncommon, but so I guess my question would be is this something you would like to see more of, or are you seeing more non-technical fractionals paying attention to cybersecurity?
Yes, I'm seeing it more. So a little stat for you, Dana, which I'm sure you must be aware of. But and this has come out of North America, that 60% of all small businesses, once they are hacked, go out of business. They're done.
wow.
Right. So
Oh,
this
dear
is a
Lord.
very interesting fact that has happened, because they do not survive from a perspective of reputation, from a perspective of costs. So yes, they are paying more attention to it. And if you want to boil it down to cybersecurity for what CFOs and CMOs, like I said, go back to your basics. Ask for a risk register. But in the world of cybersecurity, there are 3 aspects that you got to look at. The pre part of it, which is you must make your people more aware of phishing scams and things like that, because in this entire circle of cybersecurity, the greatest weakness is human beings. They are the ones that cause the greatest amount of problems. So the pre part of it, training them as much as possible so that they can recognize scams and phishing emails. That if they and especially developers, when they go out and develop new applications, for God's sake, think about the cybersecurity holes that you've left in it. So there's the pre part of it. There's the actual middle part of it, which is the actual, the cybersecurity itself. So again, you have your endpoints, your networks, your data, and your people. Those are the 4 things that you have to watch out. And then the post part of it is that if you do get hacked, what do you do to be able to recover? A lot of people rely on cyber insurance, but cyber insurance, when it started about 10 years ago, was, okay, you got hacked. Yes, here's a check for what happened. That doesn't happen anymore, right? Because here is where it's become even more smarter than car insurance. Like you got breached, right? Where somebody forgot to be able to update an application or forgot to be able to update a particular ERP set of solutions or whatever the company is using. The insurance company will void your insurance and say, we're not paying you because we told you that you have to keep these parts of your security posture up and running. If you did not do that, right, you are in breach of your contract and we are not paying you the insurance. So nowadays, they have made it much, much harder to be able to get the insurance because, yes, bigger companies can get away with it because, cyber insurance is part of a larger insurance company, insurance that they're doing for people and other things. For smaller companies, it's become a very tough optional choice, right? And here is the thing. When you look at a small company, 50, 60, 100, 200-man company, they've got one IT guy or maybe 1.5 IT guys that are doing everything. They're setting up the laptops, they're doing all the applications, they've got to be able to do the cybersecurity and everything else. And they work 10 hours a day, sometimes 6 days a week, trying to just make sure that things run, right? And that again is a big problem because the moment they forget something, or they have not done something, the hackers are going to be just waiting around the corner to get in. Because,
Yeah.
you know, Renee, here is the thing, and I think Dana knows about this. How hackers actually get into your system, they have this almost like a sonar signal that goes out and hits like a 10,000 IPs in a minute. It goes out and hits like a sonar beep, and it's looking for vulnerabilities that are there in the system. The moment it finds it, it tells the hacker that we found a laptop or a desktop with a vulnerability, and they're going to focus on that. So
Wow.
they're constantly being pinged from outside just to be able to see if they're up to date, have they forgotten a patch, have they forgotten an application, which is
And everybody is just completely unaware that all this
oh,
crap is
they're
going on
completely
in the
unaware
background.
of this,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
this is where things like what Jason is doing, patch, you know, where he takes a proactive action to be able to patch vulnerability, because most people tell you, you have a vulnerability, and here's a set of your vulnerabilities, and here's the top vulnerabilities, and here's the middle ones, right? They're assuming that somebody else is going to do the job by actually patching it. There is no one else. In small to medium-sized companies, there is no one else, right?
Yeah.
So if somebody hasn't figured out how to be able to take a proactive action of stopping these particular attacks, or doing some kind of proactive patching and stuff like that, the hackers are going to get in.
Yeah. Wow. That's really shit that's going to keep me up all night.
Do you want another fact that will keep you up all night?
No.
Do you know
Go
that?
ahead.
Do you know that 70% of all attacks come from inside?
Yeah.
A
Wow.
disgruntled employee, somebody
Yeah.
who's done you know, who didn't like what the manager said. Something has happened internally. A lot of the
Yeah.
attacks don't come from outside; they come from inside.
Actually, I believe that because even in retail, the bulk of retail theft, does not come from shoplifters. It comes from people working in the company,
Yeah.
which actually really speaks to how important it is to focus on employee engagement initiatives, leadership development, you know, building loyalty within your company.
Mm-hmm.
Because even if you have a cybersecurity team uh, on board, if any of the people on that team decide they don't give a shit today, you know, they'll inadvertently, maybe even not even deliberately, but you know, it's the day they say, ah, screw it, you know, to hell with it. The minute you don't care about something at
Mm-hmm.
work is the minute you can create a vulnerability in a whole lot of different ways. You know, you can lose customers, you lose whatever, but yes, and with cybersecurity, geez. And anyone can be found on an off day. So whether you're, you know, just self-employed and you open up an email that you might never ever open up, it looked okay, you answer something, you know, this is why I always tell people I don't like cold email. I don't encourage anyone to send cold email as a rule because it's difficult. You don't have trust. So even if you get through the spam filter and you end up in the inbox, they don't know what they're clicking on or what they're responding to or who they're really talking to. Whereas I think like a LinkedIn direct message, at least they'll go and look at your account and they'll see who you are and they'll respond that way. But there's so much garbage out there. You don't want to be lumped in with that. So it's a very, very rare circumstance that I would recommend anybody do send a cold
Mm-hmm.
email. You
Mm-hmm.
know, you don't want to be lumped in with those people. And it's very easy to be caught off guard, right? A text message, an email, and anything, a phone call. You know, in a moment of vulnerability or distraction, you can be caught.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, the thing is that it can even boil down to something as simple as this, Renee. Like suppose you're getting into your bank account, and it says www.rbc.com. Now that is RBC, that's the Royal Bank of Canada, right? But
Yeah.
hackers will change the B to a different font, and that
Yes.
particular letter is their hack in. So when you press on that particular, it looks like rbc.com, but the B is in italics. The other
Right.
two are in Times Roman, and the B is in italics. That
Wow.
italic is the hacker waiting. You type on that link, he's in your systems. He's got in.
Yeah, just simple things that you would
Simple things.
could just overlook just because you're in a hurry or you're doing something and the kids are crying and you're right?
And you just hacked it, and
Yeah,
you just put it on your phone, and away it
yeah,
goes.
yeah. Oh,
Mhm.
oh, yeah, like I said, yeah, up all night now. Thanks, I mean.
You're quite welcome.
Yes.
Jason, have you got any thoughts? Oh, sorry, go ahead, Dana. Yeah.
Well, no, I'm definitely interested to hear from Jason because I feel like he's the bridge to the parts that I'm doing. Because, like I said, I don't like doing patching. But just to kind of continue that, because email phishing, even as a designer who's spent her life paying attention to detail, that font change does trip me up. And another one that does concern me in reference to, what Amin talked about, their use of AI, and how I do believe AI is going to make cybersecurity attacks more frequent and sophisticated, is voice phishing. So where they're
Yes.
able to spoof voices
And faces.
and faces.
Everything. I mean, it's technically speaking that, I mean,
Yes.
I could very easily purchase the software to not even be here and run this meeting while I'm at the beach somewhere, which I'm real. Ask me about my childhood.
So, sometimes on your phone, and like although we're going a little bit into the operational detail, and we'll go back to the strategic in a minute, but like sometimes you'll get a call on your phone and there's nobody answering, and you say, hello, who's this, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That's all the hacker needs for you to say
Yeah.
those words. The AI will pick up your
Oh.
inflection, your
Mhm.
voice, right, and can make a complete statement about anything that they wanted to say about you without you having to say anything else. And
Yeah.
they've got your
Yeah.
picture from LinkedIn or everything else. They will what do you call it? Be able to create a complete video of
Deep
you
fakes.
speaking, which
Yeah.
when you haven't spoken a word.
Yeah.
They're quite
And
capable of doing this.
aren't we in a crazy time when so much ugliness can be made to look authentic? And I really wish that people would put their intelligence into doing good things in the world rather than trying to destroy people's lives for their own gain, like
Yeah,
such a
Yeah.
amen
fundamental
to that.
thing
I totally agree
to
with you on that.
to people. Anyway, Jason, what are you doing, buddy? Are you with us? Tell us your thoughts. I think he's letting the dog out. He'll be back. Anyway, okay, so how can fractionals incorporate cybersecurity recommendations into their client proposals and add value to their services? So there's an opportunity even as an income stream, isn't there?
Yes,
To create more than just what you do for a living, but to adding these layers into your work via, I guess, affiliate links or referrals to people like you and Jason who do things, correct?
correct.
What more is there?
So
What more is there?
there's a bunch of things that they can do. So for one, if they're preparing any proposals for clients, they highlight the business impact of cybersecurity, risk management, the compliance piece of it, the operational efficiencies part of it that they need to do, right? The one thing that CFOs need to be able to do, and CMOs will also help in this, is that you have to align security with the business goals. And I'll explain why I say that. Most businesses, in fact, I would say 99% of all businesses look upon cybersecurity as a cost point. They do not look upon it as a point of something that can earn them revenue or anything else. So because it's a cost, it's always it's in that pool of I've got to spend money on this and I'm going to get nothing back until something happens. Then they recognize the importance of something like this, right? It's like car insurance, right? You
Yes.
hate car insurance until you
Yeah.
actually get into a car crash, right?
Yeah.
So the same rule applies here, right? So the factor where a fractional CFO and a CMO have to play a very big part in this is to help the business owner understand that although cybersecurity is a cost factor, it is something that needs to happen to be able to protect his entire business. So there has to be an alignment here, right? Uh, and most businesses will try and allocate the least amount of resources and money to this because they don't see profit from it, right? And it's just an expenditure. So that's something that needs to be done. Um, you have to in any of the proposals that are being done, as part of your best practices, you have to incorporate the cybersecurity within that, right? You have to have to show the competitive advantages of having a good cybersecurity posture. In fact, and Dana will agree on this, larger companies, right? Now, if they want to take on somebody who's a third-party supplier to them, we'll ask them, tell us about your cybersecurity posture. What have you got in place so that you don't get hacked? They will ask them these questions. So, if, for example, a company is trying to bid for a larger company's, outsourcing, or they want to become a supplier to a larger company, the more secure they have on the cybersecurity will become part of their business advantage, which maybe one of their competitors does not have. So that becomes part of stuff that they need to be able to do. And then, as a CFO and CMO, you have to provide actionable recommendations, right? So you have to prioritize, the priorities of which actions do you need to be able to take. What do I mean by that? Right? If you go to any owner of a company and say, excuse me, sir, you're gonna have to spend, I don't know, you're doing $1 million worth of turnover, you're gonna have to spend $25,000 on cybersecurity, and they're just gonna look at you and smile. They're not gonna do it, right? So you got to break it down in chunks. So which is the most important thing that they need to be able to protect first, right? Again, going back to the risk register. Is it the endpoints? Is it the networks? Is it the data? Is it the people? They got to, they have to sit down with the owner and figure out things. What I can tell you is that owners, small owners, will not do all the cybersecurity in one go. They will do it in chunks. They'll do it in pieces. So you're going to have to prioritize which ones happen first, which one happens second. Like, for example, if the networks and data is the most important, put the security around that. And for the endpoints, if the guys don't want to have a much more robust solution, at least put an antivirus there. At least they've got some kind of protection. It's not 100%, but they've got something. And again, think of cybersecurity now. Dana, I know if you've ever gone fishing, and I'm not talking about the fishing where we sit across a boat and do this. Think of the larger trawlers that go out fishing. What they do in the water is they put several nets of different sizes, right? So one catches the smaller fish, one catches the bigger fish, and so forth. The same thing here. You got to design your cybersecurity so that it's layered. It's not just one set. It's layered so that if one level doesn't catch it, the next level will. So, for example, if the endpoint is compromised, your AV that you got there has not seen it, what they're going to try and do? They're going to try and get to your servers, but they have to go through your network, through the infrastructure of your network and the firewalls that you got there. It has to be able to catch it there. If it doesn't catch it there because it's very sophisticated, they've used AI and they've got through part of it, and they have got somebody inside helping them so to be able to get through the layer. Where are they going to go? They're going to try and get to your data. The data has got its own set of protections, and that's got to be able to at least have a sensor to be able to tell you that something about something is changing and alert the administrator so that they can go back and look at it. So you have to do it in layers. Cybersecurity is a layer that you build year in and year out. It is a continuous effort. And Jason will also, when he joins, he will talk about it. Like he'll do a client, he'll do the patching for the next year for certain applications, and I bet you any amount of money he's going back next year and patching some of the same applications again. Why? There's been changes, but which ones to do first, which ones to do second. So that is where the CFO and CMO have to work very closely with the owner, because all of this costs money, right? All of these are activities that they need to do, but which ones do they do first, right? Again, go
Okay,
back
so
to,
I
go
have a
ahead.
question. As a fractional, let's
Hmm.
say you're a fractional whatever,
Right.
and you are potentially a weakness from a cybersecurity perspective for a client. And what tools could you have in your own little personal toolbox for your small business that you could go into a company and say, I offer these services and I protect yours because I use such and such a product. Is there anything out there like that?
Yes and no. All right. There is no magic bullet, right? That, the thing is that right now the cybersecurity space is, especially for mid-sized vendors and everything else, it's very specific. So somebody will do vulnerability management, somebody will do data protection. So you're not able to get a tool that protects everything unless you go for an MDR solution, which has got different solutions kind of built into it. So like in my old days at IBM, we would take a solution from Cisco, and then we would take a solution from Palo Alto and everything else, and then we would integrate all of that solution so that we protected the data, we protected the people, we did cybersecurity awareness. But it was us acting as a master of ceremonies and having like 10 solutions inside that to be able to do different things. That is an integrator like IBM or Dell and people like that. Smaller companies, they will have specific solutions that they can do. So like for example, Jason works on vulnerability management, but and that's his specialty. But he will not have for if he wants to be able to protect data, he's going to have to go to somebody else to be able to get that. But what you can do is that when you go into the company, you can have recommendations of the best of breed and best of practice on every area. So like if you look, there is something called as NIST, which is like the holy Bible in cybersecurity. So under each tableau, you can actually say, here are the best of practice solutions in each of these solutions. But again, there's a cost involved in each of them. Some of them are more expensive than others. They protect different things. So, the question is, what is it that you want to be able to protect? How much are you willing to be able to spend? So again, all of those questions, even before you present your tools or whatever, show me your risk register, please. What is
Yeah.
it that you're trying to protect? Go back to the basics, right? People forget the basics. Go back to the basics. Figure out what is it that they need to protect. And then as a CFO, CMO, you can say, here's the best of breed of solutions for this. This is what you need to be able to get, right? And it's going to cost you this. And that's stage one. And then stage two, we will protect this. And these are the costs against that. And we'll break that 8 months or a year down the line. So that's how you got to be able to do it. Something that's a little palatable to them as far as spending is concerned, because they don't want to hear about IT and cybersecurity. That's a department, and they've got some poor guy or gal trying to figure out what the hell to do every day. They don't want to know about it. So when you have their ear, you've got to make it as palatable as possible. Otherwise, they're going to brand you in the same way that they brand the IT department and not talk to you.
Okay, so we're coming up on the end. Jason, are you around? No. Okay. Anybody have any last questions for Amin before we wrap it up? Oh, good. Yeah, go ahead, Dana.
I think I really need to stop saying "oh well." I think, but no. So I appreciate that, because even on the awareness side, I do find because half of them don't even really want to talk to me about the technical side of the website. They just want it to be pretty and work. And so trying to communicate that opportunity savings, I would say. Like, so an
Yes.
example we've had is we built a website for mid-sized prominent nonprofit here in Houston, and we managed it, and then our retainer ended. So for about 2 years, they weren't maintaining the site. It got hacked, and the longer you let malware sit on the server, it multiplies and goes into all sorts of crevices. I think it took us 7 months to officially get it cleaned, and that came down to literally just rebuilding the whole thing. But of course, that ended up costing them more money than they would have spent for 2 years of maintenance and us
Right.
keeping things. But
It's a hard
people,
lesson learned, yeah.
yes, they also, because even with the website being hacked, website and emails are separate, but because there was malware on the website, larger orgs, which they depend on for their donations, were blocking their emails
Yes.
due to the domain at some point being flagged. We've gotten it cleaned, but it was a long process.
Yeah.
And some of it required a lot of manual work on their effort, because because of course we can get it cleaned on the big server, or like the big registers. But if large companies have internal servers that are saying this domain is blocked, we can't do that unless we can get in touch with someone who can then, do what they need to do and now allow their emails come through again. But that's also another extensive process, because they usually don't care.
Yes.
You're
Yeah.
blocked, they're blocked. So it's like understanding the different layers, the big scheme of things, where we can kind of have some input. But then of course there's individual servers, there's or company servers or regional servers, there's the local servers, your actual individual computers. So I guess it's like, how can we get through to people who really don't want to pay attention, even though it's like for their own good?
So,
Yeah.
I can give you a little bit of a help on that, Dana, because there was an MDR company here that I was consulting for, and they had the same thing. Like, they would provide an MDR solution that would look at data, endpoints, and everything else. But a lot of the times they were their clients were getting into a lot of hack attacks because they were falling prey to phishing emails and things like that. So what they called me in and said, is there a way to be able to solve the problem? So I went and understood their sales process. So for every time that they were trying to sell something to the client, they would give a discount. Like that's a standard. You give a 10 or 15 or a 20%, because they're going to ask you for that, right? And you know that. So we kind of changed the methodology, and I did a session with the reps, and I said, look, instead of offering a discount in cash, offer them a discount in kind. So for example, let's assume that, and I'm just giving as a round example, you're charging something to a client $100 for developing a website, and they come back and say, I'll give you the contract, right, if you can do it for $80. Because that's standard, right? Yeah, especially NGOs and stuff like that. You'll tell them, look, I can do it at $80. However, if you accept it at $100, I will attach with that a cybersecurity awareness license program with that. So I'm not going to give you a discount in cash. I'm going to give you a discount in kind. So with that MDR company, now what they're doing is, whenever a company asks for a discount, they say, how many people have you got in the company? 200 people. We'll give you 200 licenses of ClickArmor, which is a cybersecurity awareness program, free of charge for a year. We're going to, instead of discounting. And what they do is that discount, which the client is asking, they spend and give it to ClickArmor. ClickArmor provides those licenses, basically bundles that along with a cybersecurity and awareness solution. So the way that you may want to think about this is that there are solutions in your part of the world, like this, and I can help you with this for cybersecurity awareness, or something that they can put on each desktop laptop that will monitor what's happening on that. So something that's a proactive kind of thing, either from a training perspective or a solution, which you can bundle along with your website design. And, if they don't want to know about it, just put it down as my company bundle, right? And it has these things built in. And that way, if you build in these extra layers to them, when something goes wrong is when they're going to appreciate the fact that you actually did something like this.
And
So
it's also a good way of differentiating yourself, right? Because everybody else is just offering web design. But there's no extra security package that's included. And then they'll look and they'll say, well, this is more valuable,
yes,
right?
go for the
And so
value.
that's a really good idea. Yeah.
Yes, no, appreciate that. Thank you.
You're more than welcome. And
All right.
anytime, if you feel if you need any help or any ideas, just reach out. I'm happy to help.
Here's your guy, Fractional Referral Network. All right. Well, thank you all for joining today. I really appreciate this. It was a really interesting conversation, and I will put these videos out regularly for members of the Fractional Referral Network. Anyone who wants to be featured on a weekly call, just reach out to me, Renee Cormier. Thank you all very much and have a wonderful day.
Thanks so
Bye-bye.
much. Take care. Bye-bye.